Hi there. In this video, we're going to be looking at working with Power Platform connectors. Connectors are fundamental to working with the Power Platform. So we'll be covering what is a connector, how connectors are used. We'll look at some of the features of pre-built connectors, as well as looking at custom connectors, those connectors that you have to build when a pre-built connector doesn't already exist. Finally, we'll discuss the importance of data loss prevention policies and how we ensure we have control over the data that comes into our organization and goes out of our organization. So let's start with what are connectors. Connectors are a simplified data connection between the Power Platform and another service or system. Let's remind ourselves of why we're here. We're trying to use a product, Power Automate and indeed Power Apps, to enable us to be more efficient. To this end, there are over 1,000 pre-built connections that are available to us within our Power Platform environments. And these are both connections to Microsoft services as well as third-party services. Pre-built connections are special because they've been validated within the Power Platform service. And that means that we can rely on both their triggers and their actions because they've been tested. So let's dive a little bit deeper into a connector. Connectors come with pre-built actions and triggers, and these can be configured to suit our needs. And whilst they include triggers such as on creation of a record, and include actions such as sending of an email or updating of a database entry, and that a single connector can have more than one action, and that within the context of a Power Automate cloud flow that they can be combined, the productivity possibilities of using connectors in the context of Power Automate and the Power Platform are truly endless. So how are connectors typically used? They're often used in Power Automate to trigger the flow, gather data, manipulate that data, and then do something else with it. That could be putting it into a Teams channel, it could be updating a record in a different database, or it could even be sending an email. Connectors can also be used in the context of Power Apps, where the Power App supplies in parameters and the trigger then performs its action. So there are over 1,000 pre-built connectors, including SharePoint, Dataverse, Outlook, Oracle, and SAP. And these have very specific triggers and actions associated with that connector. Connectors fall into either standard or premium licensing categories. And typically, you'll find that many of the Microsoft connectors will be found in the standard category, whilst the third-party connectors would fall into the premium licensing category. On the screen, we can see some examples of standard connectors. We can see Teams, Outlook, and SharePoint. And some examples of premium connectors, which includes Dataverse, Azure DevOps, and SQL Server, and also includes both Salesforce and MongoDB. Remember, this is just a small slice of all of the connectors that are available within the platform. Where a pre-built validated connector doesn't already exist, you can build your own custom connector. And if you do this, you'll be creating the triggers and the actions specific to the third-party service and what is available within the application programming interface. Given the possibilities within the connector framework and how they're used with both our apps and our flows, we need a way to ensure our data security continues to be managed. Data loss prevention policies allow us to do this. It's a Power Platform administrator task, and they prevent users from sharing sensitive data with unauthorized people or organizations. And this manifests itself by putting connectors into either business, non-business, or blocked connectors. Business connectors can only talk to business connectors. Non-business connectors can only talk to non-business connectors. And blocked connectors cannot be used at all within your environment. Practically speaking, this means that you couldn't have a Power Automate Cloudflow that had both a business and a non-business connector included within it. And the same would be true of a Canvas app. Editing of data loss prevention policies is an administrator task and takes place within the Power Platform Admin Center. And different environments can have different policies. Whilst Power Platform connectors are fundamental to working with the Power Platform, you don't need to understand every connector in order to be able to be successful with it. And the best policy is to get good at the connectors that mean the most to you and your organization. I'll see you in the next tutorial.